All right, what's up, gamers? Hello, we're live. This is going to be the Embracer Group Q1 report here. Embracer Group has purchased several development studios. They are a publisher. They have purchased Marvel's Avengers developer Crystal Dynamics. They also make the Tomb Raider games. They're going to have a webcast here in a minute. So we'll keep that pulled up and ready to go. They also purchased Eidos, which made the Guardians of the Galaxy game. So they acquired a lot of Square Enix's Western studios. That I would say that Square Enix was not respecting them or supporting their projects. What's up, Daffa? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, so... Oh, I'm trying to get this mosquito. I'll get him. I'll get him when he comes back down. Yeah, little guy's flying around here. He hasn't bit me yet. But yeah, we're gonna cover this sort of report here because we might get some information of just like what does Embracer Group plan to do with their newly acquired properties. Is Marvel's Avengers gonna last another year? Like, you know, what's going on here? So we'll do 1920 by 1080, and we'll just see whenever this. I don't know what that is. Oh, stop button. Okay. And we're caught up on the live broadcast. What's up, Satanic God? Welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, we're hoping to hear some stuff here about Marvel's Avengers. So hopefully we learn something exciting here. We're getting a loading symbol here. Okay, guess we're fine. Avengers need something to get people excited, unless they just make another Avengers game. Well, I don't think that'll sell well if they leave a bad taste in our mouth here. Yeah, they definitely need to like finish this game and, you know, maybe wrap up the Kree invasion and the Captain Marvel stuff, and then if they want to head into the other stuff, you know, for a sequel, then maybe they can. But the idea of a lot of this stuff is to, yeah, I don't know if this is, maybe just set it to auto, because I don't want it to like lag while we're watching. I kind of lost my train of thought there. But yeah, they definitely need to end with public reception being somewhat high, which means they need to deliver some dope content and then, you know, have it lead in. And, you know, obviously if there's going to be a sequel, probably needs to be next gen only, probably needs to be like a new engine, like fresh everything, and take like a whole new approach to it, because there's a lot of things that just didn't work, you know, traversal, the lack of like awesome open worlds, you know, with civilians and crimes to stop and heroic events to have happen, you know, it's, you know, just the lack of a lot of stuff. They said net sales increased by 107% to Square Enix, 7.1 million, 7.118 million. So I'm guessing that they're quite happy with their purchase. Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Gamescom nears. Sustainability goals. Doubling the number of female managing directors and studio heads by 2025. Cool. Interesting. Yeah, I try to keep the voice peaceful. Minimal screaming. Unless we are playing kind of a ragey game on stream. Sometimes we are. But yeah, usually keep it somewhat calm and chill here. Yeah, they also bought Tripwire Interactive. Tuxedo Labs, wow. They're set to acquire limited run games, which makes a lot of collector's editions for games. Embracer Group's presentation on its acquisition of Eidos, Crystal Dynamics, and Square Enix Montreal. Yeah, so I think that agreement is set to, I guess, close somewhere in September. So that's when we're going to see things really change. Long-term funding commitments, no short-term debt. Yeah, just interesting stuff here. What's up, Kujizami? Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so any theories on what might happen with Avengers, or what might happen here with Embracer Group, things they might talk about, certainly welcome. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through here, and there's, you know, interesting stuff, but a lot of financial membo jumbo. Yeah, of course, we support everyone here. Yeah, so nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. I've got friends that are Muslims. I'm Catholic, but I got friends that are Christians and Muslims and all across the board, and you know, we get along just fine. I got friends that are atheists too, so nothing wrong with that. Brian Bennett, welcome back. Yeah, we're getting started on this Embracer Group thing. We'll see when it goes live here. It's about 2 minutes until what they've said the start time will be. But definitely don't forget to hit that like button on the video if you're enjoying the content here and all the coverage. Subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, you know. Am I 33? Not yet. I'm 32. In about a month or so, I'll be 33. Yikes. Not excited. So yeah, we'll see what they talk about. But yeah, I feel like Avengers does need more communication, and you know, I guess it would certainly help if they had more developers than the pipeline to creating more content for the game. Is quite difficult, and then of course having to train new employees is somewhat of a struggle as well. We know that tomorrow we're gonna get the new Mighty Thor outfit, which should be exciting. So I'm sure they'll be ready to go shortly. hope they make a comment about changing some glitches in Avengers. I would love that. But yeah, this is probably more of a financial meeting, and maybe just, you know, maybe there will be some details that we can understand, but I don't think they'll get into like development details. Like, they're not going to announce like a new DLC or a new character. This is the publisher speaking, you know, and we're just hoping we might learn some stuff that could be interesting here. Well, my family is from Palestine, and so we are Christian Palestinians, and my family immigrated from Palestine to the United States in the 1940s. So they came here. They were being persecuted by the Zionist Jews at the time. The Israelis were stealing land and killing people, land that did not belong to them. And so it was crazy. So they left their businesses and their homes with their lives and everything they had. Couldn't get in at Ellis Island, so they ended up living in Mexico for a few years, and then they moved to America. My mom was born, and then, of course, I was born in '89, so I'm full-on American, you know? Alright, how's our audio here? I feel like that's probably pretty good. So we'll see what they talk about and what they showcase here.
Good morning, and welcome to Embracer Group's fiscal Q1 presentation. My name is Martin Anell, and I'm an equity analyst with DNB Markets in Stockholm, and I'm here to moderate the Q&A session after management's presentation. And today's presentation will be first a wrap-up of the quarter, followed by a Q&A, and then management will go through the acquisitions that was announced this morning, followed by a second Q&A. With that, I want to hand over to the CEO and founder,
Heads
Lars
up, this might be really boring.
And Johan Ekström, the CFO.
Because they are going to talk financials.
Thank you, Martin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Karlstad, Sweden. I'm glad to report another stable
accents,
quarter alongside some of our most exciting acquisitions ever. As anticipated, the first quarter was quiet, albeit a record quarter for the group in financial terms. Net sales in Q1 grew 107% year over year to 7.1 billion. That is a minus 12% organic growth.
Or the Rings, The Hobbit, Limited Run, Tripwire.
To 1.3 billion.
Well, that quality is slipping.
Adjusted EBIT margin of 19%.
Let me see if we can adjust.
The PC console
Tripwire, Tuxedo Labs, Destroy All Humans, Alone in the Dark, the new Dead Island 2, Goat Sim 3, PC and console. I don't know why their video quality is so trash. Let's try 720.
The mobile game segment,
PC console games, mobile games, tabletop, entertainment services. What's up, Billy? Welcome to the stream. Saints Row,
taking market share.
Koch Media, Gamescom, right? Evil Dead the game.
We reiterate our adjusted EBIT forecast for fiscal year 22-23 and next fiscal year 23-24. In this fiscal year, we expect an adjusted EBIT of between 9.2 to 11.3 billion SEK.
Man.
And next fiscal year,
they've acquired quite a bit here.
10.3 billion to 13.6 billion. This excludes pending acquisitions of Eidos, Crystal Dynamics, Beamdog, and this deals announced this morning. Looking into adjusted EBIT breakdown of the year, we expect Q2 and Q3.
So they just acquired Crystal Dynamics as of this morning, and Eidos as well.
by both new releases
Eidos.
and seasonality. Q2 is
Change your
supported by the
username.
reboot of Saints Row and other notable platform deals. Further, we expect Q4
Billy
to be
is
the
a hated
clearly
character in Marvel.
strongest
Oh my gosh.
quarter of the financial year, driven by a few strong releases, including a long-awaited AAA title, now expected in Q4 and to be announced soon. For the remainder of the year, we expect to notably outgrow the rest of the market, with the overall organic growth of 20 to 35% for the full financial year for the full group. I'm very proud and thankful to our finance team, led by Johan, and advisors for finalizing the largest IFRS conversion projects ever in Sweden, ahead of the original timeline.
Wow.
This is an important milestone in constantly improving corporate governance in our group. The process to change the listing venue to the main market at Nasdaq Stockholm by the end of the calendar year remains on track. We are also introducing new sustainability goals today.
They're making big money here.
After an extended period without major releases in PC console games, we are now entering a new phase of higher release activity. The reboot of Saints Row, hitting physical and digital stores on August 23rd, will be one of the most important releases in this fiscal year.
True.
Excitement for the game among fans is building up, and we will hear more about that very soon in this presentation. THQ held a well-received digital showcase last Friday, announcing a reboot of the iconic horror franchise Alone in the Dark.
Yeah.
And more than
Very
10
excited
other
about that
titles.
Alone in the Dark right here.
Next week there is Gamescom, and we expect
So they're gonna make like a new like a reboot
in the very business development schedule.
of the original
In total,
Alone in the
we have
Dark game.
222 games in games development pipeline, including at least 25 AAA projects planned for release until March 2026. Looking at our financial position, we have
So
a
they're
total of,
buying Lord of the
20
Rings
billion
and The
in cash
Hobbit
and
from
credit facilities
WB?
as of
Because
this
I think
morning.
WB Games own them.
We continue to have conversations
I'm a
with
little nervous
several
about that. That's interesting.
industry players about supporting our long-term strategy, either through
wonder
investments
why.
or partnership.
Wonder why they've acquired
Continue
that.
to grow our organic investments into our games development pipeline with a record of 1.1 billion invested into games development. That will drive the organic growth of the company for many years to come. On the short term, this, however, contributes to the negative free cash flow in the quarter. We do expect a strong free cash flow for the full fiscal year, reducing the leverage of our balance sheet.
Exploring additional
This
movies
morning, I was excited
based on
to report
Gandalf,
5 acquisitions,
Aragorn, Gollum, Galadriel,
including the
Eowyn,
IP rights for Lord of the Rings
other
and The
characters.
Hobbit.
Really?
On an aggregated basis, the transactions will
I
have
don't
a
know about
material
that.
impact on Embracer and fulfill financial and strategic objectives. From a financial
Wow.
perspective, the transactions on a combined basis will be accretive to earning growth, to adjusted EBIT margin, to cash conversion, as well as to earnings per share and free cash flow per share. Strategically, the transactions further strengthen and diversify Embracer's portfolio with profitable IPs and franchises. In particular, the Lord of the Rings, one of the most iconic IPs around the globe, and the entire Middle-earth universe offers a significant growth opportunity within PC console, mobile, and tabletop games. Finally,
Bad.
with summarizing all this information this morning, I'm pleased to announce a new operating group, Free Mode, and we will soon welcome, or in a while in this presentation, welcome the CEO, Lee Ginchard, on stage. And finally, I would like to send the congratulations to Coach Media that finally changed their name to Play On. So,
Play
that
on.
said, I would like to show a slide for you that
Damn.
shows our continued growth ambitions.
Oof.
So now looking on the left-hand side, we could see
And
the financial
sales.
growth on a trailing 12 months basis.
Jesus.
The group has shown a strong growth in the past 4 years.
Yeah, when you
Both
own most
operationally and
games, I
financially.
guess so.
The headcounts has increased from 1,700 4 years ago to almost 14,000 as the end of June. In the same period, the number of studios has increased from 10 to
Yeah, I think Discovery
120.
is just, you
The
know,
pipeline of
the
new
Discovery
releases
merger
from
with WB
51
just has
games to
them
222,
selling off
while
stuff. It's
also
very
growing
strange.
in average project size. Financially, in the same period, sales has grown notably, and on trailing 12 months basis, we have been reporting now sales of more than 20 billion and adjusted EBIT of more than 4.5 billion. For us, it's full speed ahead. We believe that we are well positioned to continue outpace the market growth in all of our 4 business segments. Due to the investments we have made in Thor pipeline and the growth potential for our existing
They got
products
money to
and
back
services.
Avengers. Whether or not they will is a different question.
So let's dig into the segments. And before I'm digging into the segments, I would like to inform you that we actually are reporting under the segments as of this morning. So we have 4 business segments. So this is the operating groups by segment. PC console games. We have mobile games made up of Deca Easybrain. We have tabletop games that is made up of Asmodee. And then finally entertainment and services that is made up
Dark
of
Horse Media, dude? Really?
Play On and Play On Pictures.
Like
Dark
as in
Horse,
Dark Horse
Freeman,
Comics?
and a
Like,
number of other
oh, shoot.
businesses.
Oof.
So let's dig into PC and console games segment.
Star Trek Online, Deep Rock
PC and console games
Galactics,
segment had a
Borderlands
low
3,
release activity
Wreckfest,
and tough
Neverwinter,
comparisons
Insurgency,
from the release
Valheim,
of
Risk of
Final
Rain
Fantasy
2,
last year.
Hot Wheels Unleashed,
And back
Metro
catalog sales was
Exodus,
the main driver.
THQ Nordic, Play On,
Again, the
Amplifier,
only release that had a
Gearbox,
notable
Saber,
financial contribution was Evil Dead the game.
Coffee, I forget what they're called,
Other
Coffee
notable releases
something?
in the quarter were Songs of Conquest,
Evil Dead the game,
which received a
MotoGP,
lot of positive
Redout,
attention
MXA TV
from
Legends,
both fans and critics. We had MotoGP 22 from
back
our
catalog
Italian
sales,
studio Milestone.
Pink
That
is new
got very,
releases.
positive feedback, as well as MX
Wow.
versus ATV Legends, developed by Rainbow Studios. The revenue contribution of MX versus ATV Legends is expected to be long-term. This reporting quarter, it's only included 2 days.
So these are their
sales,
top 10
since
back
release.
catalog
However,
titles, are
that
these right here.
performance was below our
So these are games that have been
expectations.
out for a little bit and I guess are
Looking
continuing
at
to
the
sell
adjusted
really
EBIT
well.
for a segment, it didn't grow year over year. It declined because of the comparison quarter of Biomutant. And the lower margin is due to lower. Sorry.
So honestly is big
The lower
news.
margin is mainly due to product mix with lower margin development revenue and a higher share of publishing titles. Finally, Tiny Tina Wonderlands are a success, and we are expecting to receive royalties as the financial year
Tiny
progresses.
Tina's Wonderlands is a
And
success.
if you look at this slide, I think it's
Yeah.
very interesting to look at the top 10 back catalog titles of share of sales, meaning our catalog titles are widening constantly, and the wide catalog above the top 10 back catalog titles are now representing 67% of the back catalog sales in a quarter. If you look at the titles, the top 10 titles, you recognize a lot of names we have been talking around on these quarterly presentations before. Star Trek Online, Borderlands, Wreckfest, Risk of Rain 2, the enormous success of Hot Wheels Unleashed, Deep Rock Galactic, Neverwinter Nights Online, Insurgency, Sandstorm, Valheim, the raving success from last year, and Metro Exodus.
Pretty cool.
So, without
Saints
further
Row.
ado, I'm very happy to welcome Paul Nichols online.
Hey Lars, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me and to tell you a little bit about Saints Row. There is our glorious launch key art up there that we're very proud to show you today. We can't believe that we're actually only 5 days until we're unleashing Saints on the world and preparing for the biggest and most ambitious Saints Row is ready and it's primed for takeoff. So I'll run through a little bit of what we're up to over this launch period. If you'd like to go to the next slide, that'd be great, thanks. So we've been busy over the last couple of months, as you can imagine. We've successfully launched the Boss Factory, which is our best-in-class customization demo that allows you to create your own boss and have it ready in the game for day of release. We had a fantastic response. We had 1.3 million downloads of the demo, and with social media sharing at the center of the demo, we generated an amazing 374 million impressions. And through social media, we had 63,000 mentions across all of the social media channels. It was a great result. The amount of bosses that we saw the community and our fans create was fantastic, and they were really diverse in every single way. So we can't wait to see some of these bosses in the game. There was also a few Larses in there that were created, I don't mind telling you. I would have shown them today, but it might have risked my future career prospects if I had done. But I may share with them offline someday, Lars. We then had our hands-on preview. We held local previews worldwide. London, Sydney, Paris, Milan, of course, Vegas. The response was really positive. It was great to witness the press at last getting hands-on and playing it and experiencing Saints Row in a full Saints Row style. And we had some really great quotes that we got from that event. The activity to date, and that's just a bit of it, there was lots more of other trailers that we released over that period of time, but has really put our pre-orders in a strong position. 2 weeks out from launch, we're at 118% of our track to date pre-orders.
Awesome.
So that's giving us a lot of confidence as we come into this final 2 weeks of launch from this period. So we've now kicked off our global marketing campaign. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So we're pulling all of our big marketing levers across social media, digital media partners, trade marketing, first party. We've activated our full lifestyle and gaming influencer campaigns, as well as our big out of home, as you're seeing here, and premium underground in the UK, primary billboard sites in the US, tram skins in Sydney. We've got Saints Row influenced food trucks touring many select cities around the world, doing the most amazing food. Our final review copies have gone out, and we can't wait to hear what the press are going to say about the game come when the embargo lifts. So I thought I'd take the opportunity. We've got a really robust TV and VOD campaign worldwide. So we've got a couple of TV slots to show you now.
So they own the rights to movies, video games, board games, merchandising, theme parks, etc. for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So like they essentially own it now.
Thank you, Paul.
Like more than just gaming.
This fool with a bazooka straight up nukes the whip, hails agenda, and straight up bounds it!
These two weirdos punch each other in the face. Ow! She struts her stuff and strips down. I was like, bam!
I see
seen these little hellions out here running them up like a bunch of Gila monsters with their heads cut clean off.
Straight off the roof, all flying squirrel. Now that's one hell of a takedown.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Nothing.
Damn. Saints Row looking crazy. It's August 23rd.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And I think we're all super excited for the feedback from everyone when the game is releasing next Tuesday.
Yeah, we can't wait. We're super prepped, ready to go, and we just can't wait for the game to be in the hands of the gamers and hear what they're going to say, see their videos, see what they're up to. It's going to be a wild ride.
Thanks, Paul. Well done.
Thank you.
So let's move on to Stockholm.
This is
and,
really just sort of a
team from
coverage
Coffee Stain
of
North.
perspective stuff that Embracer Group has required.
Hello,
Yeah,
Lars.
so
And,
probably not a lot of gaming
Hello.
on this video specifically. We did
Welcome
some
to Boston.
Marvel Spider-Man earlier
Thank you
tonight.
so much. So I heard you were going to run a trailer from our game before we get
So
to
this
talk a
is
little bit more about it.
Goat
Sure.
Sim 3.
Let's see if we can get this trailer up and running.
Oh, Coffee Stain, that's what it was called. Yeah, I think we saw this trailer already. And I thought this was Dead Island too, honestly. My God. Yikes. So I don't know. I'd be surprised if Crystal showed up at this or
Hilarious.
had anything to say.
Yeah, there you have it. So Pilgrim the Goat is coming back, finally. We released the original game in 2014 and are still supporting that and continued supporting that, but the fans of Pilgrim had to wait almost 10 years for a sequel of the game. But it's coming now in November 17th, exclusively to PC on Epic Game Store and on PS5 and on Xbox Series X and S. And we're really, really excited to very soon be able to share gameplay from the game on the Gamescom opening night live on the 23rd of August. That's going to be really exciting. And press and gamers will also get their first hands-on with the game. So we're really looking forward to that. And even though we announced the game only in the beginning of June this year, our social media channels have been exploding with people coming to them. Our TikTok, for example, has more than 500,000 followers already with 4.7 million likes. So people seem to be excited still about goats in general, I guess. And I'll let our creative director, Santiago Ferrero, tell you a little bit more about the game. And hopefully you have a slide for us that we can show at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah, so just like a quick overview of what Goat Simulator 3 is. The big new feature is online multiplayer, so you can play up to 4 players.
4-player co-op.
Wreak havoc in this big sandbox world and just have fun together. Or
online or split screen.
You, basically. And one unique feature for the multiplayer is what we call mini games, which is unique rule-based games that you can start from wherever in the world. And we have like hoofball, which is basically soccer, but with goats. Floor is lava, king of the hill, and so on. And they really put your goat skills to the test and have fun. In classic Goat Simulator style, the world is just a big open sandbox, and there's a lot of destruction, a lot of secrets, quests, and just a lot of things to get you sidetracked and just play around with. And this time we really focused on building a fragile world with a lot of destruction and chaos. And we've added different elements like fire, electricity, oil that changes the way the world and how you play and interact with this world. And lastly, we've totally revamped the customization system to let you fully express yourself as a goat. So this time around, we have 7 different slots.
Okay, I want to grab a drink real quick while they talk about this.
And all these gears,
because I haven't had a drink in a minute here.
Abilities, or they're just cosmetic, and
yeah, we'll see what they talk about next.
With each other and create these weird, unique combinations. With again, enhances the creativity and chaos and all that kind of fun stuff. And of course, you can change the different types of goat. So if you're tired of the regular goat, you can be a tall goat, or as some people call them, giraffes. And we have 11 different types of these types of goats. And yeah, we're super excited to show more and release the game and see what people do with the game. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I think we're all super excited. I can't wait. I can't wait for the opening show at Gamescom next week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's move on to the segment of mobile games. So the mobile game segment reported strongly year-over-year, growing 20% organically. The growth was lower compared to the previous quarter, partly due to the platform deal we made in the previous quarter and moderating market growth, but mainly in line with management expectations. Operational EBIT amounted to 277 million, yielding a 19% adjusted EBIT margin. The decrease in adjusted EBIT margin compared to last year is mainly explained by higher user acquisition cost in relation to 59% of net sales, as well as the addition of Crazy Labs, which has a lower margin profile. The mobile game segment is expected to continue its growth through investments in live operated games, improvement of current titles, user acquisitions, and most importantly, through upcoming releases. It's too early to draw any conclusions based on Google's forthcoming policy and restrictions for ad placements in Android apps. However, the policy will be effective as of September 30th this year. These developments will be monitored closely, and by both Deca Games and Easybrain are working proactively to mitigate this topic. So, without further ado, I would like to move over to Paris. I think Paris, Müge. Welcome to Sweden.
Thank you, Lars. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to report on Asmodee's sales performance and business highlights for Q1. As a point of reference, let's just please bear in mind that the reported sales for Asmodee in Q4 21-22 only took March into account, as Asmodee joined the Embracer Group at that time. So, starting with sales performance, net sales amounted to 2.7 million SEK. That represents 6% growth during the quarter on a pro forma basis compared to the corresponding quarter last year. Our sales had a strong momentum driven by high demand, especially for trading cards, in spite of the periods typically being seasonably weaker. Our sales grew both in Europe, I shall say particularly in France and the UK, and North America. Our online board games and video games also contributed to growth. On an operating EBIT level, the adjusted EBIT amounted to 445 million SEK. That yields a 17% adjusted EBIT margin. The growth of profitability versus last year is primarily driven by the timing of investments in people and structures. As you know, whilst Q1 has been dedicated to the successful integration of Asmodee into the group, we've been able to reorganize some internal projects across upcoming periods. The Q1 sales performance was supported by our bestseller lines and also the quality of our most recent releases. Let me give you some examples. So Clover from our Repos Prod studio was named Party Game of 2021 at Board Game Geek's Annual Awards. Stella Dixit Universe from Libelot Studio was runner-up in the same category, while Seven Wonders Architects came third in the Light Game of the Year category. We also saw major developments in Q1 towards interactive gaming, with the digital version of the best-selling Exploding Kittens card game launch on Netflix gaming platform, as well as the release of our bestseller Catan on Board Game Arena. You might recall our global online board gaming platform that ranked #1 overnight in number of hours played, actually. Speaking of transmedia developments, during the integration of Asmodee and Embracer Group, a total of 15 projects have been identified, whereby Asmodee's IPs are being evaluated for collaboration and development with other operating units. We are thrilled. To conclude on this first full quarter as part of Embracer, Asmodee announced in May a new studio named Access Plus. The studio is one of Asmodee's ECG initiatives that aims at studying and promoting the benefits of board games to all members of society. Working with healthcare professionals, the Access Plus teams are developing a line of inclusive games accessible to a wide spectrum of people, including those living with cognitive disorders. The first games will actually hit shelves in late Q2. Transitioning to the current quarter Q2, we've been delighted to welcome our fans back in person at Gen Con, a leading US board game consumer show that gathered around 50,000 consumers this year. Consumers particularly enjoyed Twilight Inscription from our Fantasy Flight game studio, with early copies sold out in less than 1 hour during the show, as well as our Netflix series of games such as Squid Game, Stranger Things, and so on. Also in July, our global online board gaming platform, Board Game Arena, engaged hundreds of thousands of players around the Summer of Games, an event that saw one new game released each day in July on the platform, so 31 in total. Finally, in Q2, 6 novels will be released by Aconite. Aconite is Asmodee's fiction novel arm, including 2 Marvel IPs and 2 Asmodee-owned IPs. I think with that said, that's about it for now on Asmodee's news. Hope you stay tuned. Back to you, Lars. Thank you.
Yo, what's up, Dice Dojo? Welcome back.
And can't wait to see you soon again.
Thank you so much.
PlayStation to PC services. I mean, what we're seeing so far is just they put their games on Steam and Epic Games, but I think they're also going to have their own launcher. But I hope that they will still allow us to purchase games through Steam. Because I prefer to own my games on Steam and run them through Steam. I think Steam is a reliable service.
within PlayOn Publishing.
But yeah, the fact that they own Dark Horse Media, look, I mean, they own freaking
During the
Hellboy,
quarter, The
right?
Umbrella Academy Season 3, based on Dark Horse comic book series,
Comic books.
made its debut on Netflix.
Yeah, Umbrella
After the
Academy,
quarter,
so they
Dark
own
Horse
that too
Entertainment announced
on
that
Netflix.
Its partnership with Netflix has been extended for several years,
Wow.
giving Netflix options on filming rights based on Dark Horse IPs. Finally, PlayOn Pictures won 2
This
of
is
the main
insane.
awards at the Cannes Film Festival. Looking a little bit more into the
I don't know
market,
if we're gonna get anything for
the
Avengers
global games
here.
market
I
is
don't know.
predicted to generate
It's looking like it might be too soon for that.
$197
Yeah,
in
Ghost of
2022,
Tsushima would be a
a growth
great
of
game.
2%
Like, I'd love to see
year-over-year.
all the Uncharted
This
games,
represents a
the
slight
Last of Us
downward
games,
revision of
and
previous
I think Ghost of
22
Tsushima would be
forecasts
another great
that
title
were
to see on
5%
PC.
year-over-year, mainly driven by a lower forecast for console games.
Almost
The
4
market
a.m.
has
Wrap it
somewhat
up, embrace or
benefited from
bleed.
inflation,
No.
pressure on
Yeah,
consumer spending,
so I
and
think they'll
remaining
wrap
pandemic
this up,
effects
and then
by
they'll talk
hardware
about,
hardware shortages
they'll
and
do
new
like a
release
Q&A,
delays.
and that's our best chance to
That
hear
said,
anything
there are several
perspective here.
factors currently adding momentum and
Let me
stability
see if
to the
there's
games
anything
market.
additional here
It's both accessible and affordable, with increasing
that they
revenue
plan
from
to
platform
cover.
deals, subscription models, and a high growth areas such as VR. According to data from IDG, the games market is expected to gain share versus other entertainment sectors 2022. The long-term growth prospects remain
Yeah, I can't
strong.
imagine this
The
being
games
too
market
much
is
longer.
predicted to continue its growth in subsequent years, reaching $226 billion in
'Cause it's
2025.
most of their
which
press
is a
release that they
5%
dropped this
CAGR
morning, they've
between
covered a
2020 and
good chunk of it
2025.
here.
With that said, I would like to leave over to Johan.
Thank you, Lars. Yes, so if you look to our P&L for the period, it's now split by segments. As said, we have a record high net
Yeah,
sales,
this is gonna be
in
the
quarter,
boring numbers part.
7.1 billion SEK, growing with more than 107%.
But I mean,
versus
they're
last
growing
year.
in every sense. Like, I
The
mean,
main
they are
drivers of the nominal growth is
purchasing
addition of
companies,
Anomaly,
they're acquiring
Dark Horse,
assets,
Crazy
and
Labs,
they're making good money from these
and
assets.
also, favorable effect
And
from a weaker
they're
SEK
set to make
versus
even
the
more
US
money.
dollar
I
and
mean, they
euro.
own Hobbit and Lord of the
If
Rings.
you look at the profitability in the period, adjusted EBIT 1.3 billion, yielding a
I'm
19%.
Somewhat
EBIT
concerned that they might
margin.
be getting
It's
in
lower
monopoly
than same period
territory
last
here.
year,
I mean, they are
mainly
just like
explained by, segment
dominate here,
mix
and I
shift
hope they have good
from
intentions,
PC
and I
console
hope they're gonna do
tabletop
great
and
things with all these
mobile
properties.
games. If we look at the individual segments,
So yeah, it looks like
and
not
start with PC console.
too
We
long after
notice
this.
that, the EBIT margin is 26%
They talk about these
in the
performance
quarter,
indicators,
lower than last year.
such.
The main reason
They
for this is
will
that, last
hopefully
year we
get
had the release of
into.
Five Mutant, which was very
They have a little
successful.
bit about
This year,
Gamescom here,
there was one notable
and then they talk
release,
about their
in
acquisition
the
of
quarter,
Crystal
Evil Dead.
Dynamics
And
and
as said
Eidos,
earlier here,
which means
Next
Tomb
versus
Raider,
PC
Deus Ex, Thief,
only
Legacy of Kain,
contributed a couple of
Champions
days in the
Manager, and more than 50 back catalog
and we can
games
also note that there is a
are expected to
higher
close
share
soon.
of publishing
Important
revenues
contribution
from
to
publishing type
PC and
in the
console
quarter
games.
compared to last year. Mobile games, solid growth in the quarter, growing with
Yeah, it's kind of weird that Marvel's
12%
Avengers isn't
organically.
specifically mentioned here
the lower
in their report.
EBIT margin in the segment is mainly explained by a higher share of user acquisition costs in relation
Like,
to
they're
net
not
sales
excited
in the
to
quarter.
own a
Solid
massive
performance
Marvel
of Asmodee,
game that
as
could
we hear
potentially
Mygge
be
talk
built
about.
up into something incredible
Growing with
if they
6%
do it
in
right.
a flat market, generating an operational or adjusted EBIT of 445 million in the quarter. For entertainment and services, profitability is lower compared to last year, and the main reason is that there were no larger releases in the quarter for.
Yeah, just
Daily
not a lot of new releases in the past few years, and COVID has really
Adjusted
impacted game development. So I mean, you're seeing it here as well.
Was 0.96 SEK per share in the quarter.
So it's like you saw the other charts earlier where everything's like trending upward, but now that they're looking at like year-over-year growth here, it's like we're seeing stuff go up and down.
So we are very.
Because it's like, yeah, if you don't have new games coming out, it's like you're just banking off the old stuff, which is what a lot of the old charts were that we looked at earlier.
I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone that has been part of the project, both here in Karlstad and also out in the organization. Internal as well as external resources. The transition to IFRS is
I have to say, I don't understand much on this page.
Changing listing venue to Nasdaq Stockholm. It doesn't change the way we conduct our business, nor the way that we follow up on our underlying business performance. The best way to understand the underlying operational performance of Embracer is through adjusted EBIT, which was previously called operational EBIT. And the transition to IFRS has only had an immaterial effect on adjusted EBIT. The definition is a bit different, as we will see later when we go through the bridge. Due to accounting treatments of earnouts in IFRS, we have added a new APM to the report called adjusted EBITDA to get the relevant measure of the underlying cash flow generation of the business. As you have seen throughout the presentation, we are also glad to report net sales and adjusted EBIT.
Yeah, like the big thing that we would probably really need to know is like if they're staffing more people at Crystal Dynamics and if content would roll out faster at that point.
It's a big quarterly report that was.
They're investing in their talent and trying to build up more, because it just feels like there's a skeleton crew over there.
We have an overview.
If they lost a lot of people and they got a bunch of new hires, and you know everybody's got to be trained, and they got to work on their pipeline of how they're pushing out content, and now they're adjusting to the point where they don't want to come out with operations, and expansions are going to be few and far between because they'd rather drop more heroes and villains, and they're going to keep those, you know, sparse and few and far between, because it's like it takes them time to push one out, whereas it took like a whole year to make the Black Panther DLC expansion. You know, it's like if you want a character that's fully fleshed out that hard, then that's a whole year project, whereas the other characters take several months or more, depending on how much effort they have to put in.
One important thing is that within IFRS, if there is
so it's like you could see them doing more Echo characters, but that would be a bad idea for the fan base, because they not respect that very much.
It will not be part of the contingent consideration or part of the purchase price under IFRS. Instead, it's expensed as it is being earned and treated as a personnel cost within the P&L.
Let me see where they're at here.
We definitely think that this is an acquisition-related item, which is why it is excluded when establishing the adjusted EBIT and EBITDA. When it comes to transaction costs, such as due diligence, financial tax,
I'm thinking they're getting near the end of this.
Under IFRS, these are expensed as they
this section, yeah.
And this is also.
So I'm not looking at a concise layout here.
That is added back.
But yeah, September 9th is the Disney and Marvel Games Showcase. Friday, September 9th.
Worth noting is that it's only the transaction costs that are being added back to adjusted EBITDA only consists of transaction costs for deals that have been closed.
It's a safe bet that they won't be revealing
Looking at the
anything for
amortizations,
Avengers at the Disney thing.
They are 7 billion
And that kind of
lower
sucks.
in IFRS than it was in Q3, looking at the previous fiscal year. And the reason for this is that there are no goodwill amortizations on IFRS. There still are acquisition-related amortizations within IFRS related to acquired surplus values, such as IP rights and brand names, trade names, which is excluded when
Scarlet Spider.
EBIT. So at the end, the adjusted EBIT for last fiscal year under IFRS, as you can see, is approximately 4.5 billion SEK, and it's the difference compared to K3 is immaterial. It's a bit higher, mainly related to the implementation of iOS 16 for leasing, and also relating to revenue recognition for durables for certain mobile games. And just to elaborate a bit more on the 4.2 billion relating to contingent considerations that's not classified as part of the purchase price. This is related to the 3 largest acquisitions that we made within PC and mobile over the last 2 years. Moving ahead to the balance sheet.
Oh no, this guy. Oh,
and looking
dude.
at earnouts,
He's gonna
number
bore
of
us to
shares,
death
and
with all the
adjusted,
numbers.
Earnings per share. The considerations that are to be settled in cash and not
You're gonna have us
treated
falling
for
asleep
the
here.
purchase price is excluded from the financial liability under IFRS. So under IFRS, the financial liability would be 4.8 or is 4.8. Under K3, you include them all. So there you would have 8.2. If you look at the obligations that are to be settled with shares, either shares already issued or shares to be issued in the future, the amount of shares is lower under IFRS compared to K3.
It's hard times,
mainly
bruh.
related to that part of the purchase price under IFRS would be excluded from part of the purchase price. But under K3, you would include all shares in the share count as they are part of equity when they are issued and as a provision when they are to be issued. Finally, looking into the average share count. The average number of shares diluted under IFRS for last fiscal year would be 921 million.
Put this on to go to sleep to.
It would be 1
Yeah,
billion
I don't know. We'll
86
see.
million.
We'll give it a few more minutes and see how it goes. But
higher.
I was hoping the Q&A would be the exciting
And the reason
part.
for this is that
This is not.
earnouts that are not considered to be part.
I mean,
of the
like
purchase
even the
price
people that are
under IFRS
interested in this, like
are earned
people that like work for the company or
time.
whatever, people that are attending this, it's like,
and also that
man, this
you need
really
to
is
look
like.
at each
Just give us a
individual
summary, you
earnout
know?
agreement
Just like
to
we don't
see
need to sit here and
if it
talk
should be
about
classified
line 36
as a
here. It's like, come on,
part of
man.
equity or as a financial liability.
Let's get into what's
and
important.
if
Sink or
the
swim.
Fixed or fixed criteria are met or not. Finally, looking into how we calculate adjusted earnings per share. We start with the net profit for the period, which is 1.1 billion for last fiscal year. Then we add back acquisition-related items that we just described under the establishment of adjusted EBIT. Then we remove any acquisition-related items that are part of the financial net and last year they were positive, so they would be removed as 2.5 billion. Then we also need to consider taxes on the adjustments, which is the 276 million. Important to note is that not all adjustments are taxable. Hence, the tax effect is only calculated on the adjustments that are taxable. Or as a tax.
Let's see if I can pull up their.
This would then result in an adjusted net profit for the period of 3.9 billion SEK. We use the higher share count or where you include all shares that are outstanding, and also the maximum amount of shares that need to be issued or could be issued in the future to settle the obligations. So the adjusted EPS on a fully diluted basis.
Dang, he's finally gotten to the bottom of the page here.
Under IFRS is 3.61. Okay.
Cash flow and
looking
investments.
into the cash flow for the period, we continue to invest into organic growth opportunities. So in total, 1.2 billion invested into intangible assets. The vast majority, 1.1 of this, is related to investments going into the games development portfolio.
Game development.
Looking at free cash flow generation, pre-changes in net working capital, it's positive, close to 500 million for the period. We have a increased working capital in the period of 1.2 billion. So free cash flow after.
Yeah, it's like I'm seeing like a whole outline here of everything, and it's like they could have just gone through that.
The change in working capital is mainly related to the build-up of inventory within the tabletop segment.
I guess we're gamers, you know. We wanted to see what they were talking about in terms of gaming and development and publishing.
That was approximately 0.8.
Somewhat more,
and then
but I mean, I guess it's good that they have a lot of money.
Is related to an increase in
like they could potentially do something with that.
Operating receivables and liabilities, mainly
hire more developers to work on Avengers. Put more capital behind the game, so you get more high quality heroes, high quality, you know,
cash in June,
whatever it is.
Cash was received in July instead. At the end of June, the net debt amounted to 11.5 billion SEK. Available funds, as Lars said, today is 20 billion SEK. Looking ahead, we expect to generate a strong cash flow for the remaining part of the year, driven by a higher expected adjusted EBIT. And we feel confident that we will reach the financial leverage target that we have of 1 times.
That was it. My cat's asleep. Right on, right on.
Or at the end of this fiscal year.
Dead Island
also
2. I can't believe it.
Welcome,
can't believe that's a thing.
HSBC
it's real.
And Svensk Exportkredit to Embracer's group of relationship banks. They joined at the end of June. Joining or extending the group of Nordea, SEB, and Swedbank. So now they are 5. And they joined as we entered into an amendment agreement at unchanged terms for 2 unsecured long-term credit loan facilities that matures in 24 and 26. Increasing the facilities with 5 billion.
In Bali? No.
Replacing the 4 billion facility that
would be exciting. Would be cool.
In May. Project ROI.
PC console.
We still see, or looking back, I should say, we still see a solid return on investment for our games development projects. So 3 times the investment amount in average. We should bear in mind that this is
so none of this is pertaining to
the
like
is a bit harsh.
Because I mean, they
titles
literally
that
just
were released
acquired
late,
Crystal and
in the quarter, as you will only have a couple of days of contribution, but you will
Eidos
have
and
investment
you know
cost.
Square Enix Montreal,
in
whatever.
later.
They didn't. So I mean, none of these
Now,
numbers
the
reflect
sample
anything
is
about
54
Avengers.
projects.
I guess I thought they might have
And the
something, but
basis for selection
I don't
is
know.
sales above 40 million SEK,
Yeah,
or
kind of a nothing burger here.
above 40 million SEK.
Okay, here
as
we
said
go.
in the beginning, we reiterate the guidance for
Board games,
this fiscal
PC
year,
back
the
catalog,
next fiscal year.
reboot of Saints Row. I mean,
and,
that's really what they're most
for this
excited
year,
about.
The guidance is between 9.2 and 11.3 billion. Next year, 10.3.
I just
to
wanted to see if they
13.6
mentioned
at the
anything about
EBIT
Crystal
level.
Dynamics.
The market growth that we saw in May was 5%. Now we are looking at 2% subscribed. And looking at the different segments, PC console, we expect to have a strong organic growth in the year, driven by releases. And in terms of accumulated investment values, we expect to have at least 3 times more investment value released this year compared to last year. Also containing 2 AAA releases, and in addition we have several AA, single A and indie titles on the slate for this fiscal year. Platform deals drives profitability, also adds predictability to profits. Mobile, we expect a organic growth well above the market, driven by the increased utilization of existing platforms, fueled by current and future funds going into user acquisition, as well as planned releases of new titles. And within tabletop, we expect to grow our adjusted EBIT with at least 10% over last year. Looking into the phasing, to sum it up, we expect notable seasonality to affect the phasing of board game segment, mobile segment, and the back catalog part of the PC console segment. Q2 and Q3 will be clearly stronger than Q1, and in favor of Q3. So Q3 will be higher than Q2. It's driven by seasonality and release slates. Super excited about the reboot of Saints Row in Q2, as well as notable platform deals. Last but not least, we expect Q4 to be the clearly strongest quarter of the financial year, driven by...
Alright, I need to get some more water. I'm thirsty. But we'll hang around and we'll see what the Q&A is all about, and then we'll wrap up.
Expected in Q4 and to be announced soon.
Thank you, Johan. And now let's head over to sustainability before we're moving into the Q&A. So let's welcome Emma Ihre on stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Lars. So
what's up, Red? Welcome. I'm just going to grab some water, but we're checking out Embracer Group and their financial reports for Q1.
So in Karlstad and in Stockholm.
So yeah, it looks like they won't talk about Avengers. I'll be right back. 1 second.
Is sustainability important for Embracer? Why do we care about sustainability, or if you like to call it ESG? We care about it because we are human beings and we have a responsibility for other people, for the planet, and for the future. That's the first reason why we care about sustainability. But as well, we invest quite a lot in sustainability and ESG because there is no lack of legal requirements. And of course, it's kind of a minimum standard to follow the law, and it can be very costly to breach laws. And we don't want to waste our money, and we don't want to waste your money. We want to invest them in our business and in new companies, not in paying fines. And as well, we have high expectations from our stakeholders, and that's stakeholders like our employees, customers, and investors. So to summarize, it's about values. We want to act in line with our values, but it's also very much about risk management, to map our risk and to manage them in an excellent way. And it's also about business development, to develop our business so we do good for people, the planet, and earn money at the same time. Embracer Group is providing the market with great games, great entertainment, and that's our business, and that's where our sustainability work starts. But to be successful in the long run, we have to think and act broader, more long term, so we can provide the world with even more entertainment and great games, and to create even more value to our stakeholders, and to give back to society. That's our way of looking at sustainability and our strategy. And these are some of the most material sustainability issues for our industry and for Embracer Group. So it's diversity and inclusion, responsible content, and as well healthy gaming. And our board has, based on our decentralized business model, our sustainability framework, and the most material sustainability issues, set 3 sustainability goals. So the first one is to double the number of female studio heads by 2025. The second one is to reduce carbon emissions by 45% by 2030. And the third one is that all operative groups will set their own sustainability goals. They know their market, their business, so they're going to set their own goals during the coming year. And to set sustainability goals is a way to communicate, to show our ambition and direction, but that's just one of many tools. As well, we have partnerships with different NGOs, like with Global Compact and other NGOs. We have collaboration within our industry and with other private companies. And as well, we have tons of ambitious policies that we are implementing, and many of them is about ESG or sustainability. So that was it from me.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you so much. So without further ado, let's head over to just a very, very short M&A update. I know we're running a little bit over time here, but there is many important topics today. But we believe it's important to continue expanding and investing into the ecosystem that attracts and retains talents, creates synergies, enables great people to realize their high ambitions. And if you look at this slide, you can see our current pending acquisitions and this morning announced acquisitions. So we are expecting to close the...
What? 300 people at Crystal?
Crystal Dynamics,
oh,
Eidos,
dude,
Montreal,
come on.
Square Enix, Montreal, very soon.
Dude, they need more people there.
Beamdog in Canada. And if you're including...
They need more people there.
This morning, post-closing, we will be...
Alright, give me 1 second.
Forgot
to grab
development studios, and taking the total headcounts engaged to more than 15,000. We continue to have a strong funnel of M&A opportunities to support our long-term growth ambitions. There is a lot of bolt-on opportunities, adding fantastic IPs and game development studios, for example, into the group, and we will continue to execute on that strategy. So let's head over to Martin before we will...
Yeah, I think we'll give it a few minutes here and see if there's anything, but we might wrap this up soon. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's a lot to announce here, but this is the most exciting part right here, if anything.
Okay, thank you, Lars and Johan, for that presentation, and we'll kick off the Q&A now, and then I think there's maybe some more presentations coming, followed by a short Q&A after that as well. But to start with, questions on the quarter. Just you mentioned that this is another stable quarter. Is this the final time you're going to say that when we're moving into the second quarter? Do you think?
No, I think, you know, looking at the word stable, it's relating to our expectations, and you know, our expectations are wide, but I think in general, more or less all companies are delivering according to our expectations. So that's why we had a stable quarter.
And then you added that Q2 will be significantly above. You changed a little bit in the phasing of the coming quarters and expect a very strong end to your fiscal year with the Q4. That's correct?
Yeah, that's mainly driven by the movement of one significant release that previously was scheduled to be in the third quarter, moving to the fourth quarter.
We'll come back to those big releases in just a while. In the quarter, there's notably high UA spending in mobile. I think it was 59% of your sales. And it seems sales growth is slowing a bit there in the mobile segment. How confident are you with investment initiatives in the mobile business?
First of all, I'm confident that we have a world top-class management team that are able to understand the dynamics of their businesses and how the user acquisitions. And they have the green light to invest as much as they can for the maximum long-term organic growth, rather than creating short-term profits. So the alternative, we would have to slow down the user acquisition to generate more cash flows and profit on the short term, but that will hurt the business on the long term, and that's not how we operate our business.
And a large share, correct me if I'm wrong, in your mobile business is driven by advertising. And given where we are today in the macroeconomic environment, you commented a bit in the report that the market has slowed. Where are your views here in the current environment and going into the fall regarding that?
I think we have seen, you know, major brands and some kind of other advertisement players being more cautious on the market, and that is somewhat hitting the prices paid for advertisement. At the same time, it's a bit lower user acquisition spend. So it's basically the difference between them that generates the profit. So it's a quite complex material to understand. I would like to look at this as a positive, that there is opportunities to take market share and to invest more into the long-term growth.
And on that topic, the macro climate, if you look at it in a wider perspective, incorporating the PC console into this and the lowered market forecast that we're seeing out there.
So they've purchased Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, Tripwire that owns Killing Floor and Maneater, Limited Run Games, Tuxedo Labs,
how confident
Sing Tricks. Another
in that
undisclosed
reiteration,
studio
sort
that
of,
creates
if you
PC
understand
and
what I mean.
console
Yeah, I
games.
understand your point.
That's insane.
Obviously, we are also affected by the general market, but again, we need to remember that the absolute bulk of our growth is driven by the execution of our new releases in the PC console segment. And we are confident about that release slate and the performance of those titles. And that's why
No, they don't own Insomniac. This is Embracer Group. They own other stuff. Fardeen, welcome. We want more characters than Lego Marvel superheroes do, right, dude? I agree with that. Yeah, they haven't talked much about Crystal, but they did reveal that they have over at least 300 people on staff there.
Potential market weakness and economic,
which is honestly more than I thought.
In that guidance,
there is always
I knew things were pretty
wide
slim.
range of performances, and somewhat you discount various forecasts and budgets you are getting from.
I think they've just
various
lost
companies.
key people. Yeah, this isn't.
And you know, there's quite upside, and some.
If anything, Insomniac will be at the Disney Marvel showcase, but they might not.
So, I think that is the critical point for us to understand.
But yeah, this is Embracer Group,
So
the publisher
I'm
that
not really
owns,
concerned
as of
about
today, I believe,
this
Crystal
slower spending,
Dynamics,
you know, it's a marginal
Eidos,
effect.
Eidos, whatever.
Gaming is a fantastic market.
Eidos,
I'm bullish on
Interactive.
long-term prospects of the gaming market.
So, makers of
I
Tomb
think
Raider,
it's a
Marvel's
superior
Avengers,
way of entertainment.
Guardians of the Galaxy, all that
So,
stuff. Deus Ex.
I think looking into our business, you know, we are still continuing building on the long term again, and I think the return of investment continue to.
And they're saying
reinvest
profits
into
are
organic
up, and
growth
it's like,
as
yeah,
much
they
as we
did
can.
just buy The Hobbit and Lord of the
Hence,
Rings, so it's
lower
like
cash flow
they're
generation
set to
at this point.
make a bunch of money.
and
Ultimate Alliance,
in PC
Marvel
console,
Ultimate Alliance, yeah, that had a lot of characters. X-Men Legends was really dope back in the day.
Over last year, there was quite a big change.
So I'd really
in
love
the
to see
market.
Marvel's Avengers grow.
If you could just help us elaborate of the most important drivers of that.
Well, I think Biomutant was actually, according to management, a great success last year, and it was an owned IP with a fairly low development cost that generated a lot of EBIT. If you look at Evil Dead, it generated okay revenues. It was a success, but it had lower margin profile, both royalties as well as a development spend. That's one difference that made actually a significant difference in the margin.
Okay, so there's no other major changes.
No, but there's other titles. You know, look at last quarter, we had Valheim continue performing. We have a number of other titles that, you know, that were hot, or more hot than today.
Yeah. Okay, and before we just a couple of questions on the big games pipeline, Johan, the IFRS project. Are you happy that it's over?
Yes, it feels really good.
So I mean, what they own now
super
is
happy
like
that,
Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. Like they own the rights to the movies, they own the games, they own the theme parks. Like anything related to those franchises is now owned by Embracer Group. They own Tripwire Interactive that makes the Killing Floor games, the Man-Eater game where you play as a shark, Limited Run, which Limited Run creates collector's editions and stuff for like all sorts of games, indie games, modern games.
What was the main
they come out with their own stuff for that.
I think the main challenge is really
they own a lot of tabletop games like Catan and Ticket to Ride. Of course, they own Crystal Dynamics, which means they own
worldwide. And what you are doing.
They own Marvel's Avengers. They own Tomb Raider. They own Deus Ex. They own Guardians of the Galaxy because they purchased Eidos.
From each of the separate entities.
Legacy of Kain. They own Thief.
And interpret how rules will affect this.
Trying to remember if I got everything on the list here.
You still need to do it. Document it. And have a process for
where is it?
Continuing to get rid. I think that's a big part. And then also
I think I got them all.
There are more information that is gathered and presented externally. So that's also.
And they own Square
in
Enix
the
Montreal,
size of the external
so they acquired
reporting.
a lot of
larger,
Square Enix's
which means that,
Western studios.
We are disclosing more information.
Yeah,
we need
they
to
own
process
stuff.
that information.
Yeah, they own a
There were
lot.
no
There's a lot of
main
stuff that
big
they own. I
expectations,
really
when
don't
you
even see
summarize
like
the
a
cash flow at the end of
a
the day.
full list here of like everything that
sorry.
Embracer
There were
Group.
no main
So yeah, they
main
publish
surprises
games,
when you
whereas
summarized,
Crystal
the
Dynamics
free cash
is
flow
in
at the
charge
end
of
of the
the,
day.
the development.
So,
So publishing,
uh,
a lot of that
the-
is money.
the
A lot of that is
important
money involved.
KPIs for understanding
Promoting,
Embracer remains the same.
producing, all that kind of stuff.
On the reported basis, I think there was a surprise that part of the earnouts or continuing considerations should
Yeah, I'm
flow
just gonna
through
Google
the
them here.
reported P&L. But nevertheless, it's an acquisition-related expense, and it doesn't affect adjusted EBIT.
They own
And that was
THQ
very
Nordic,
complex,
Saber
and you have
Interactive,
a lot of
Gearbox
acquisitions, and each
Software.
acquisition you negotiate in the best, to have
Let's
an
see if I can
agreement,
pull
and they
up
all
anything
are
else here.
different.
THQ
Very
Nordic,
complex
yeah.
material. And as Johan said, it was 2 or 3 companies
Coffee
that had
Stain, Dark Horse
specific
Media,
terms that gave
which Dark
this
Horse is responsible
now
for a
on
lot
our
of comics, right?
Okay, thanks.
Like Hellboy.
We have a
Saber
lot of incoming
Interactive,
questions here
yeah.
as well. I'm gonna have a look in the iPad for those in just a minute. But I want to ask you first on the big games pipeline. Saints Row, obviously, you're excited. There's only 5 days left for this very hyped game. There have been some other media talks during the quarter about another of your big games that you have transitioned between your studios. Are you okay to comment and give us a bit more flavor on that one?
No, I think it's always things happening in our AAA
Uh-oh.
pipeline, and
That
one
deep
project
sigh.
has been moved from one studio to another, but we expect that game to hold the quality bars. Overall, the pipeline is, not talking about that game, but talking about the overall pipeline is obviously 4 years ahead. So there's still movements within that pipeline, but we feel confident about those projects.
Can you confirm that that game I was referring to was not part of your full year guidance this fiscal year?
I can't confirm whether, but I don't think it's a totally wrong assumption you're making. But I can't really give too much
No, an
color on
answer.
it.
But you have clarified that you have 2 AAA releases in the guidance for this year. First, obviously, being Saints Row, and then the second one is the one that you don't mention the name, but we think we all know what it is.
You think you know what it is?
And I expect, is it fair to assume that that's part of your comments on the phasing with a significant increase in Q4?
Yeah, I'm.
Are you talking
I
about
think that's
Dead
a good
Island 2?
assumption.
Is that the
I
elephant in the
actually
room?
I'm excited about that game. It's been developed under a very long time, but it looks bloody
And
good.
development hell and Switch Studios and whatnot.
Tiny Tina Wonderland. We're waiting for the royalties. I guess you are as well. Can you comment anything more about the
So yeah, the
timing of
big
this?
thing that they're dropping is
that-
Saints Row.
I think in general, Tiny Tina
So they
is
own
a
that as
great
well.
success for both Gearbox and Take-Two. They now
And yeah, they
established
own
new IP,
Borderlands as well, since they own Gearbox.
and
So they're
continues
talking
to have
about
great
Tiny
engagement
Tina's
from
Wonderland.
gamers, and I'm confident that Gearbox will have
Just
royalties coming through.
It's just insane how
rather
much
sooner than
this
later.
one publisher owns.
Okay. Before I let in the questions from the iPad here, maybe I would like to turn to the audience here in Karlstad. We have maybe 30, 40 people here, and is there anyone that would like to ask a question? Please raise your hand. I think we have a microphone, so we will hear you.
What about Marvel's Avengers?
Okay. We'll go into the questions from the iPad then. I'll start off with a question from Simon Jönsson with ABG. He's asking, you
Hobbit
expect 2
Legos and
AAA
stuff are
releases
rare?
this year, and you
Man.
said that one of the group's AAA games have transitioned to another studio.
Yeah, I wish they would let
Is
us
that
send in questions
one
online or
of these
something.
2 games expected this year, or when?
No,
was that
it's
game
not one of those 2 games. I think it's kind of the same question
Exactly.
you just said.
Yep. On Asmodee.
What's up, Iceman?
This is also
this
from,
is the
Simon
Embracer
Olsson.
Group.
Could you please comment on the seasonal pattern
Q1,
for working
quarter
capital
one,
in Asmodee? We
like
saw build-up in
financials
inventory this
and
quarter.
stuff. So they're
What's
talking
behind
about all the
build-up,
games
and
that they own.
When can we see inventories reducing?
And
Yeah, so for tabletop segment or
new
Asmodee,
stuff that they've
the
acquired.
seasonal pattern is that
So it's quite a
our
list of
fiscal
games, honestly.
Q3 is the definitely
I
the
mean,
strongest
they own
over the
everything.
year.
I mean, Borderlands, The
And
Hobbit,
that,
Lord of the Rings.
The cash flow will follow that as well. So we
No,
expect
it is
strong
kind of
cash
super
flows
boring in a way,
in
but
the second half. Of
it's
the year, so
interesting to know
Q3.
that there's 300 employees at Crystal Dynamics.
And where
They
we are
did
now, we are
purchase
building
Eidos
up
Montreal,
into this
Square Enix
period.
Montreal, which means they own Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain,
where we are now,
several other
we expect
games.
to,
You know, they own
get
Saints
benefits
Row, they
in
own Goat
Q3.
Simulator, they own Dead Island 2,
Thanks.
all that stuff. Yeah, the Wolverine game, very excited for that, but yeah, they won't be talking about that because they don't own.
Our next question
They don't
is
own
from
Insomniac.
Frederick,
PlayStation
Nassauer.
owns
He's
Insomniac.
asking,
Insomniac would be the ones
Could
to
you
talk
please
about
explain the
Wolverine.
PC console
But
margin?
yeah,
drop?
definitely looking forward to it.
You mentioned higher customer acquisition costs. Is that the reason, or does it also come from Saber having to shift its cost base out of Russia, Ukraine,
Yeah, they own
Belarus?
Saber Interactive, which
On the
I
PC
think
console,
are those the guys
margin
that are
shift is
behind the
driven by
Chernobyl game
the mix of the
that have
products
been
in the
displaced
quarter.
because of the war in the Ukraine?
Biomutant had a very high margin and a high contribution.
I want to
last
say
year.
that's right.
So basically, if you have more
I don't
titles
really
with
follow
higher
a lot of that
development spend and
as
more
much,
royalties,
so
you
I'm
will
a
have
little
lower margin.
little
So
hazy
the
on
margins
that.
will vary over the quarter.
But yeah, it is like they almost
So
own everything
hopefully
here.
when you have margins
I mean,
or
if you look up
titles with
Embracer
on
Group
their own
on
IPs
Wikipedia,
such as,
just the
Biomutant
amount of
or
studios that they have.
Saints Row or other titles
That they
will have
own.
lots higher
And they
margins.
just bought Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Like they literally own everything that's
development
involved
spend
with
or-
that. It's absolutely insane.
So it's not really relating to
Like they
any
own
of
the
the
books, they own the movies, they own the theme
questions
parks,
you
they anything video games, anything that's made with
Next
Lord of the
question I
Rings
have
and The
is
Hobbit.
from Lucas
Oof.
Edge. He's asking, you reiterate the guidance for the coming years, while at the same time
They own Dark
made
Horse Media,
acquisitions
which
that are
includes
expected
Dark
to
Horse
add
Entertainment and
material to
Dark Horse
adjusted
Comics,
EBIT
which, you know,
the coming
they
years.
publish
How should we
Hellboy,
interpret
right?
This in terms of
Lots of other
organic
comics.
guidance? Has that been lowered since a
They
year
own
ago?
Gearbox, so that means they own
I think it's two separate
Borderlands.
things. The acquisitions announced will be added.
Oh, they own Aspyr, which
financial
was in
guidance
charge of the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake.
Yep.
They own
And another question.
some
from
of these I
Lucas
don't
is,
even
how should
recognize. They own
analysts
so
think
many.
of the mobile
But they also
revenues
own
in
a
terms
lot of
of
mobile
steady state
and
growth and UACs?
tabletop games as well. THQ Nordic, Saber Interactive.
Growth in the mobile revenue, long-term mobile growth revenue, and UAC spending.
I don't know. There have been this is mostly boring because
at the
it's
business
all
plan, I
like
see
financial stuff.
growing,
But what they're talking about now
revenues
is like kind of an
and
open
profitability
question and
from
answer
from
type
all our
thing.
mobile businesses,
Um,
mainly driven by Easybrain.
So like this has literally been one of the more exciting
but
parts.
as well
I
as
hate to say
Reasonable,
it.
and I'm confident
But they
they're
did
able to
show,
deliver.
you know, and talk a little bit
There
about
will
Saints
always
Row
be,
and
you know,
and
different quarters with variances,
Goat
but
Simulator 3.
I'm confident.
Yeah,
about
Predator comics as well.
ability
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
outgrow the market.
There was a football game 2 months
Okay.
ago, and they talked about it for 15 minutes
I know
until they
Martin, we
started
have
the
a lot of
match.
people
Oh,
Yeah.
from
jeez.
America
Okay.
waiting. And
Oh,
I
jeez,
love
that's
having these
crazy.
Q&A sessions, but perhaps we should wrap this up to have some Americans. It's the middle of the night there, and
Sure. Maybe we should just kick off with that right now, and I know there's time for some questions after that presentation as well.
great. So let's jump on to the acquisitions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Okay, now they're talking about the acquisitions. Okay, so maybe we do have to stick around for this. I was thinking it was
So,
going to get boring after
Let's
this.
jump on to the presentation of free mode and a number of M&A activities this morning, and I like to start to say that we are disclosing the financial impact and purchase prices as a combined information this morning. So looking at
they're going to show the total amount of what they purchased, not
on a pro forma
individual.
basis. The acquired companies would have between 1.8 and 2.1 billion in net sales contributed this year, and between 550 and 750 million
upfront
in
purchase
adjusted
price
EBIT
and amounts to
on a
6
pro forma
billion.
basis. Now we're expecting the
I feel that buying Middle Earth Enterprises, Tripwire, Limited Run Games, Tuxedo Labs, and Singtrix.
Next quarter.
Holy crap!
Next year we're expecting growth.
To acquire another company
net sales of
that's involved in
2.1 to
PC
2.4
and console gaming that they're not going to
contribution
name.
Of adjusted EBIT of 750 to 950.
I guess they want to make sure the deal goes through first. I don't know.
In the year of 24-25, we see a
purchase price is undisclosed is in the range of being among either third or fourth largest of the transactions. Wow, so they're really buying some stuff, dude.
EBIT of 1 to 1.5 billion. Also worth pointing out in these acquisitions this morning, they have a strong free cash flow generation before funding costs. It's expected to be in the range of 70 to 80% next year, and to be in the range of 85 to 95% in the future years. So looking at the transaction details.
The first PS5 when they were talking about like the
6 billion.
Statistics of the console, that was somewhat boring, yeah. When they were just talking hardware and
1.3 billion in cash
what's inside of it
paid in 12 months, and 500 million is paid with Embracer B shares. The likely total deferred consideration linked to achievement of financial and operational targets over up to 7 years amounts to 2.2 billion, of which 1.5 billion will be paid in cash and 700 million will be paid with shares. The likely total consideration for the acquired businesses amounts to 8.2 billion. The size of the upfront considerations for the 5 announced acquisitions is in descending order: Middle Earth Enterprises, Tripwire, Limited Run Games, Tuxedo Labs, and Singtrix. In addition to the 5 announced acquisitions today, Embracer has entered into agreement to acquire another company within PC console gaming. The purchase price for this is undisclosed. Acquisition is in the range of being among either third or fourth
I gotta say, I do not enjoy this. I do think this is mind-numbingly boring, but I was hoping we would get something informative here. But I think the biggest thing we learned is that there's 300 employees at Crystal Dynamics. That's it. I mean, it's nice to know some of this. I mean, it's a lot to watch to get a very little detail out of. Like, I learned more from the short outline and from Googling the company and what all they own. And, of course, seeing news articles. You're going to probably see some news articles today about everything they've acquired.
The CEO of Embracer Free Mode. And next to me here is my partner in crime, Martin Lindell, who'll be helping me with the presentation today. So Free Mode is a global ecosystem of independent operating companies exploring broader opportunities in gaming.
Usually most of the gaming stuff that we cover is a lot more entertaining than this. Usually it's like lots of trailers and footage to look through and stuff. It's usually not just boring financial talks here, but I mean, we're really grasping for straws here with Avengers, you know. Anything we could learn or know about the future of the studio or the game,
14 companies.
I don't know what to say. They have a lot of money and they're really successful, so they seem like they publish a lot of good games as well. So, I mean, maybe look at this as a good thing for Marvel's Avengers. Yeah, and this guy's thirsty now that they've been talking for a few minutes.
Okay.
He's about to lose brains. Yeah. Yeah, they're finally getting into the good stuff here.
and how broad it is.
I think it's
kind of have to
after
look at
this,
the-
because
the
free
operating
mode is
areas,
a separate group of studios here.
that the
See, these
companies-
it's all these
11
studios that they've
operating
acquired.
companies, operate
So
in.
that's not
we will
that's
start
still not
with
relating to
the new
Crystal
area of classic and retro.
Eidos.
One of Martin's favorite topics. As you can see today with the limited run games.
But yeah, the fact that they've purchased,
be a-
I don't know if you
pillar
realize, look
in
up
that-
limited
in
run
that area.
games and just
E-commerce
browse
and
what they
community
make and what they
is also
sell.
something
That
that's
is a massive acquisition. They are
core
incredible.
to a lot of our
And
businesses
seeing a
going forward. We
bigger
have two
publishing brand
world-class
purchase them
e-commerce
and
companies that are very, very,
I don't
very
know,
heavy,
potentially allow them to
the
even
community
more
space
mass
that drive
produce
those
what they do.
e-commerce
It takes
businesses.
them a long time to push out their products.
Devices
So
and
having a
gear.
publisher here would,
an area very close to my heart.
with a lot of money,
which
could
I've probably
really
spent
help them increase their
2/3 of my
inventory
working life in.
and potentially maybe even get stuff out at launch
that
on day
means
one
many
for the
things,
collector's
of course.
editions that they make.
Devices,
And they do
game
make some of the
focused
best
experiences.
collector's editions of video games
and
out
the old
there.
Guitar Hero days, those kind of experiences, and then just general devices. You can never digital download a device to play a game. Not yet, but maybe in 20 years, who knows? Game development, you're not going to really have a gaming company that doesn't have a focus in game development. So we have 3 studios there, of which 2 of them are heavily involved in retro classic services. So again, we have businesses in the service sector that are servicing the video game business in general. And then the last mode is new idea and tech incubation.
This guy's literally
And
reading
that's a
what's on the
small
page. Like,
group that sit with us in
I think
Livermore,
we've all done
California,
this when we've had to
that
do
basically
presentations. We're just
just
like,
prototype.
and
Look
these
at-
are
look
the
at
services,
we
and
hope
this
that
is
some of
the
those
devices
ideas
and
turn into
gear.
real businesses.
You can see we
If
have
they
4
don't, they may
devices
turn
and gear
into
there.
tools that
Four
help the
four
rest of the
bullets there.
business.
Just read those.
And I also think
Pretty
talent,
cool.
Talent from
Yeah,
that, from that
Gotham
group
Knights. I'm
could
excited
actually
for
be
Mr. Freeze.
in the
I
system
think he would
for
be
us
the
here at
villain I'm most interested in. Ooh, we're gonna do the deluxe
So,
edition. I think so
from
too.
the areas of
I
operation,
want those
this
outfits.
is kind of like our roster of companies, and then
Dude,
for,
the
for,
fact
for
that they
ease
own
of
Middle Earth.
digestion, as it were, you can kind of see what areas that these companies operate in right now. So that's important for us because as we're supporting these companies, we of course need to support them with the right.
Yeah, the
resources as
collector's
well, and we
edition
need to understand
for
every
Gotham
part of the
Knights that
business.
comes with all the
So
statues.
I think
That's
a
not for
nice,
me, not anymore.
clean overview
But
of
it's
that.
expensive, yeah. It's very expensive, and
So
I can't do the
what does
plastic
Freemode do?
figurines anymore. and just-
Of course, we believe that we've got an ideal balance of independence and empowerment for our independently operated businesses. We supply them with world-class operating support, and we're there for the companies through the challenges and also for scaling as well.
He seems
a lot of the
nervous,
businesses that you'll see are
and
kind of
like
small to
there's not
medium-sized,
much
and,
he can say.
Sometimes when you need to scale, you need help, and we're there to help these businesses scale and grow in a sense.
Honestly, this sounds good for a project like Avengers. They need
course,
help scaling the project and getting things out
ecosystem
on
that we're now
time
the 11th
with the
operating group
MCU.
in the wider
There are mobile
ecosystem
games that are
of
running in
Embracer.
circles around Marvel's Avengers
So
because they're able to pump out
We're
content
proud to be
quicker.
there. So now I'm going to hand over to Martin.
Thank you, Lee. So one of the core tenets in Freemode is retro and classics. I would like to start to
Yeah,
say,
I would just
maybe
go.
for us here, it's obvious, but games are culture.
I mean, I've
And
bought a lot
preserving
of
that
collector's
culture
editions for games.
Is
Assassin's
very
Creed 2,
important. It's
Assassin's Creed
part
3,
of
Unity,
building the
all the Batman
heritage
games I got
for
collector's
us as an
editions
industry.
of, so I got the Batarang. Max
But also
Payne 3, I got
nurturing
the
these
collector's
classics
edition.
is
Splinter
also
Cell
an
Blacklist,
opportunity.
I got the collector's
So
edition
that
that
is why
came with the
we
RC
built this
plane that
strategy
actually
around
flew.
retro and classics.
essentially almost a drone,
formulating
honestly.
that vision is preserving the past to build
Yeah,
a bridge to the
I got
future
tired of cheap
games
plastic
culture and lifestyle.
statues and, you know, just not much value,
So what makes
not much
retro and
long-term
classic
value.
special? As gamers get older, they want to relive the experiences that
Nostalgia,
they once played.
yeah.
Today, it's 30 years ago since the Super Nintendo launched in Europe.
Legends never
It's 40
die.
years ago since the
Everyone
Commodore
likes
64
pixel art
saw the day
graphics
of
and
light
retro
in
sound
North America.
design, so even if you're making new games
This
in
means
an
we have
old
several
style,
generations of gamers that have grew up with games and they still continue to play
you return
games
the
today.
collector's edition of Avengers.
they have fond
That's the one
memories
that I didn't
of
get,
a lot of these
and
games, and they're
I don't know
waiting
if I
for
wish
some of
I
the
did or
games
not.
to come back to be revived in new
Yeah,
versions. or
it did
just
look like
being
cheap
accessible
material.
again, because maybe
I
we don't
enjoy
have that old
Avengers,
Commodore
but
64 anymore.
it took some time. I've been
This
playing
not
it
as-
since the beta, and I play it almost
Over
every
time,
week.
players also love to embrace the uniqueness of classic games. We're talking about pixel art graphics, chiptune music, and this is something that also new modern games are embracing. An example is
Average
Windowing
age
from
is
Bitwave
31.
or Hunt Down from Easy Trigger. So games are inspired by classic games, but for new platforms. We see a genuine interest. This is shown through an increasing amount of podcasts, documentaries, books, and videos about classic games and their origin. It's also a bustling, diverse scene.
Pretty cool.
The audience is made up of everything
Yeah, I
from
can't believe the
you can see
Ragnarok
US,
stuff. I
Generation
have no
X
clue
female gamers that are like
why they're
that like
going
classic
digital
arcade games as a category of games.
on some of that stuff.
We also see young emerging retro players that are growing up.
I think they said that
watching
about
classic
last
gameplay on YouTube,
generation, that
or
discs would
even
start
getting their
fading out.
parents,
I think they're
passing on the
probably
interest to
going to say it about this generation too, but I don't know.
So this is
I
the
still like
core
having
business
hard
areas we're
copies.
operating in. Worth to point out, this TOA plan is an iconic arcade games developer that is managed by Tachyon. We are looking at a number of areas of opportunities. It could be through partnership or collaborations or by acquisitions. So there are many games that players are
Serving
asking
pass.
to come back or be reintroduced, and there are many ways to do it.
Publish
The first
partner.
one is simply republishing a classic game. It still requires a lot of work getting a good representation of the original game, curation with quality of life
Gotcha.
updates, such as quick saves or adapting to modern controller standards, remaster graphics, or new features. The bigger investment is in remakes. That's when you make a major overhaul of a game. You take an original game, its story or characters, but you rebuild it from the ground up with new graphics, new
It's a
gameplay,
remake.
like a modern interpretation. Then we have sequels, which is a direct continuation of a classic game. This could be in the shape of a remake, meaning a bigger budget, or actually staying more true to the original game. This is a matter of player expectations. What are their expectations and what do they think about the games? And there
You
are
have to
many
be
ways
careful
to
how you spend your money.
experience classic
That's
games
the other
today.
angle of why I
There's the
don't buy
convenience
collector's
of
editions
mini
anymore.
consoles that you hook up with
Just a lot of
built-in
money
games.
for
There's
not a
services,
lot of
where
benefits.
you get instant access to games. So to mention the TOA plan example, a lot of these games are now republished on modern platforms. They are available as collectible cartridges to classical consoles. You can actually buy them for example, TOA plan games from Mega Drive. They are in mini arcades or mini consoles like the upcoming Mega Drive 2 Mini,
Yeah, it's
the
understandable.
65 Mini or the Egret
I got
2.
you.
And they're also coming to PC via Bitwave. So all these paths, they have in common that we are making fan favorites available again and carry on that heritage into the future.
I'd like examples of what games
Martin.
they're in charge of in that.
Lee, I know you had a video, a very short one, and I think we should see that about free mode before jumping into the first acquisition this morning.
Sure.
Racer's 11th operating group. for the rings. Devices and gear. Huh. What is that? I don't know what that is, like karaoke or something? I don't know.
So, Lee.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to prioritize,
We have some
yeah,
American
paying your
friends
bills,
waiting.
you know,
Yes.
food and
Quite a
stuff
few,
like
actually.
that.
I know, look at them, they're all lined up there.
But yeah, you have to
Where are we going first?
you have to work extra hard to get collector's editions of games, and sometimes it's better to just be pickier about which games we purchase, and
Josh, Douglas, are you online?
and that's what I've been focusing on.
We're here.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Fantastic. I'm so glad to
More-
finally be with you here today. We have been talking for
CEO of Limited
3
Run
years
Games,
now?
yeah.
It's 3 years.
Yeah.
Almost.
He's been stalking you for 3 years.
Yeah, definitely look at
Good.
what
So
Limited
welcome
Run
to the
Games
group,
has
guys.
put
So
out.
let's jump into the presentation.
Incredible.
Awesome. So,
Dude,
we're Limited
69
Run Games.
people?
We were established in October 2015.
Yeah, no
and we're
wonder
based
it
in
takes
North
them
Carolina
ages to
in
come
the
out,
United
and
States.
ship
We're kind of right
everything,
near
but
Epic. That's our big gaming
it's
landmark.
top tier,
We're a team of
top
69
tier
people,
collectibles.
and we are a collector-focused publisher of physical video games.
Yep, they're
We've
all
been,
about physical copies of games.
manufacturing and distributing physical games for the last 7 years, and we've
They've been
published
doing
over
it for
1,000
games that
physical
don't
games,
even have
and that's,
physical
you
copies.
know, the
So
unique
for
games,
digital
we've done
tiles, they've
far
been
more
making it.
actual physical SKUs. We've done enough physical SKUs to have released the new product basically once every 2 days for our entire existence, which is a pretty crazy pace. We have worked with pretty much companies of every size, small and large, publishers and developers alike. We have worked with huge IPs, we've worked with small games, I mean, everything in between. We have a strong brand with a big following online. We've got 400,000 unique paying customers. We've got a social media following of
Yeah,
over
sometimes
200,000
those collector's
people.
editions,
We
you
have a
really
retail
don't get
store
what you
called
want.
Limited Run Retail that we opened recently, and our grand
Expectations
opening attracted over
don't
1,000
always
people,
equal
and they were
reality.
lining up for multiple days waiting to get in. Our sales channels are mostly direct to consumer through our own website, but we also have recently started doing some distribution into full retail. Douglas?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My screen delayed. And
You
I
really
was like,
are.
Yeah,
Mark- Mark, you
TMNT
sleep over
is
there.
another
I thought you
game
got
that they
muted,
did
and I was like, oh, what happened?
a really good
Anyway,
collector's edition for.
Some of Limited Run's biggest hits have included Shantae
Look at all this
and
Dragon Ball Z
Teenage
stuff.
Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. With Shantae, it was one of our re-releases of the original Shantae game on Game Boy Color, which with us had sold about 13,000 units, which is 3,000 units more than the game had sold when it originally released in 1998. So that clearly
Oof.
showed there's still demand for retro games, as well as just bringing back some old IP like Shantae in its original form. With Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, this has been our top-selling game. It was also one of the best-selling games on Amazon for several days. We released this on Switch and PlayStation 4. And it's been one of the, top first-party Nintendo releases, and it's been astronomical to see how well it's done.
Technical
The
issue.
next slide.
Go.
Yeah, River
next
City
slide
Girls
that,
is getting a sequel,
we'll
I
wait
think.
for that to kind of catch up on my screen, but our next slide is a list of our popular titles. It kind of shows a lot of the
Yeah,
big games that we've
Shenmue
worked
3,
on over the
I got
years,
the
and this is just
collector's
kind of a
edition
small
of that.
fraction of the releases
Scott
we've put
Pilgrim
out.
versus the World,
We've
they
done
came
things
out
like
with a
Command &
physical
Conquer,
copy of
Castlevania,
that.
Streets of
Star
Rage,
Wars Bounty
Psychonauts,
Hunter,
Star Wars,
like
Stranger
lots of
Things,
old
Contra,
PS2 titles
Turok,
here
Scott Pilgrim,
getting
Doom,
relaunched.
Power Rangers, Metal Slug. So
Genesis.
we worked on the whole
Yeah,
range
Streets of Rage 4,
titles
they
in the
did.
industry and released
They
a
did
whole lot of
physical
games.
distribution for
It's
that.
been a pretty incredible journey to be able to get to interact with these IPs that were very meaningful to me growing up, like Star Wars. I mean, that was a dream come true.
And
So
Grease
getting to do
right
these things
here.
has been incredible, and getting to make these physical packages for
really
collectors
cool.
and fans has been a really great experience.
So yeah, they
for me,
brought
and
back
I've
a
loved
lot of
doing it
retro
every step of the
titles
way.
and classic, like older Star Wars games.
Do I dare touch it again? There you go.
Cool. Yeah. So with limited run, we have started global expansion and obviously some retail initiatives. One of the ones that we started in Japan recently was Super Deluxe Games, and it's a joint venture between Limited Run and our good friends 8-4 in Japan, who are considered one of the top localization companies in Japan. And they've been in the industry for a very long time and are good friends of ours. Another partnership we are starting to explore, and it makes it even greater to be part of the Embracer Group now, is with Clear River Games. We're looking to expand into Europe, which will allow us to have further distribution in Europe, and that will include direct to consumer and retail options, and hopefully provide better opportunities for our European customers. And then a pet project of ours that we're extremely excited about that we launched earlier this year was our Limited Run Games retail store.
Wow.
We opened that on April 30th, 2022 in Cary, North Carolina, which is local to us. And it serves as a great community building space and showcase. We're going to hold plenty of events throughout the year and also sell a lot of our releases as well as a lot of retro stuff. And it's something I encourage everybody to check out at least once if they can.
So Carbon Engine is an in-house emulation engine that we've been building over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I did get
is
the
an
Uncharted
ultra-accurate
collector's
emulation engine
editions
that allows
whenever
us
I
to
could.
release
Yeah.
classic games on modern platforms. So this is, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis,
Yeah.
plenty of others, and we're able to take those and very quickly and rapidly develop high-quality, ultra-accurate ports to modern consoles like Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. So far, we've done a few games. On the market right now is Shantae and River City Girls 0, but we have 3 more that are coming soon. We sold Bill and Ted's Excellent Retro Collection recently, and we've also announced back at our E3 showcase, A Boy and His Blob, a retro collection for that, and Extreme Sports, which is another game from WayForward, who are good partners of ours. But we've got plenty more in development, and some of them are with very big companies, so we're excited to reveal those over the next year or so.
Okay, so that's back to me now. So the acquisition rationale. So of course, this aligns perfectly with our ambitions in retro classic and heritage. As I said earlier,
Yeah, Uncharted 4 had a good statue.
It's a concrete pillar.
Uncharted 3, I think, came with the ring.
Carbon Engine as well unlocks vast
the ring on the necklace and the belt buckle that
IP,
Drake wears.
as well as the wider industry.
I remember right.
These guys do it from the engine right the way through to in the customer's hands. So every step of the way. I think also the worldwide expansion of limited run games. We've got our, as Douglas said, we have our Clear River games, but we also have some great synergies with other areas of the group as well. I mean, there's already work going on with Game Outlet as well, and the guys at Bitwave. So I think from me, I just want to welcome you guys to the group. I spent a couple of days out with you a number of months ago, and
Uncharted 5, I was
just blown away with the
I
team,
feel like
the
it
way
ended
we
on a
operate
good
together.
note, and I
It's
don't
like-
want them to do more
I
unless
describe
they
it
can
as
do
like
something new and
some
meaningful
family
with it.
of like
They were some of
30
my
to
favorite games
35-year-olds
ever, but
just sort of
the
hanging out
fact
and
that they got a
working
good ending
on these on this crazy kind of timeline
feels good to me. I
bringing
don't
these
want
games
them
out.
to
It's
come back and
absolutely,
kill off Nate or
insane.
Sully or something.
And I love my
We all
come back
love
with
what
some
we
weird
do.
game.
We're all big collectors. You can see behind me.
I'd
I've
like
got
to see
tons of
their
stuff,
games
so you
come
can
to
see
PC,
collecting's
though.
just in my nature. So same thing with Douglas. He's got statues behind him and loaded stuff. These are our offices. So just imagine what our homes look like. We love what we do, and we're super excited to be part of Embracer and get to work with the IP that you have and bring our games and collector's editions to more people throughout the world. It's going to be an awesome journey.
Thank you for this opportunity, Lars and Lee and everyone else at Embracer. It was a pleasure having you here, Lee, and we hope to see you more often.
Cool. Oh, are you sure?
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Right. So let's move on to the next one that we announced this morning that we are super excited about.
Yes. So I'd like to introduce Andy Jones, who's SVP of Strategic Products at Asmodee. Asmodee have been kind of central.
I think if they're just going to talk about their acquisitions that they got today,
so I'd just like to thank everybody.
I don't think they're going to talk about
Andy,
Avengers.
Steve and Andrea, again, unbelievable. And Tom and Frederica from the Saul Zaentz Company, who live, breathe all things Middle-earth. So, I mean, we're proud. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be playing some Avengers tonight at 9 p.m. Central.
One of the largest, most enduring, iconic fantasy properties in the world, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Could I jump in?
You can.
Just to say, personally, hi everybody, and I'm absolutely delighted and over the moon to take part today on behalf of Asmodee as part of the Embracer Group. And, you know, as well as being proud to acquire the IP rights, I am, and we all are just absolutely delighted, you know, geeking out on it, to be honest. It's a dream come true. And Frederica and I, we've known and worked each other, gosh, we've
Platinum.
worked with each other for about,
Yeah, I got
must
the
be 20
platinum on
years
it.
now. And we've discussed life,
I got
universe,
it.
and everything Middle-earth. In
It
offices,
was worth
shows,
it.
restaurants and bars from Nottingham
I'm
to
enjoying
San
the game
Francisco,
more
just
now,
about
yeah.
everywhere in between.
At
And,
launch, it was a
I'd
little
like to say that
wonky, but
I've really always looked
they
forward
fixed
to
it up as
visiting
it went.
Berkeley, whether that's meeting Fred and Tom or and
Dude,
the rest
this
of the
is
Middle-earth
insane.
Enterprises team. And I've always felt welcome. So many thanks for that over the years.
Merchandising rights. Look,
and
they
as well
own
as the
Lord of
people,
the
you know,
Rings and The
as
Hobbit.
business
They own
partners,
it.
I found Middle-earth Enterprises always open to suggestions, totally
So they can do
knowledgeable around
anything.
the worlds and the
Even
the
stage
IPs,
productions.
the works.
Who would even
and of
think
course,
of it?
Being very firm and but very fair. You know, every time we've come up with some crazy new ideas. So
Yeah, I can't believe
would
we
say,
rolled
you know,
up
my
with
history
this.
is that you guys have been ideal licensors and partners, to be honest, especially because of your obvious passion for all things Middle-earth as well.
This
The
is
fact that the
exciting
team of
if they
great
do
people
something
who
good
are
with
really
it,
into
but
what
I...
they do really
The Lord of the
helps.
Rings
It
already
really,
has
really
really
does.
good movies out. I don't
Personally,
want to see them ruin it.
the chance for me to work with Middle-earth,
Games-
both on, you know, my
games
history
could
working
always be
with
good,
Middle-earth,
maybe.
both on the literary and movie characters, it was a dream come true. 22 years ago now, and it remains so for me today. In fact, I could say that discovering The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings in my school library, together with a love of model soldiers and games, is largely responsible for my career to date, to be honest. And of course,
it's
sitting at
getting
Asmodee
late.
with our living card game and Journeys into Middle-earth board game, Asmodee is a strong and established partner already for Middle-earth, with over 100 releases to date. So now
I'm
the
gonna
opportunity
grab
to
some
welcome
more
you,
water.
Fred,
This
and
is
the
crazy.
team, me into the Embracer family is perfect. I just could not be happier today.
Thank you, Andy. The feeling is mutual. We've had a great friendship and a great working relationship, and I was really pleased to be able to tell the team, the small team that we are, that we would be joining you all. Games Workshop and then as Fantasy Flight and then Asmodee have been some of our favorite licensees to work with, and the feeling is mutual. You know, you are like family and in the best way. And you all have a great passion too for the property. And so with the prospect of being sold, many of us were concerned, and then really thrilled. So I'm thrilled to be here, even though I thought I was going to fall asleep, but I didn't. And
oh no, I don't drink
we're excited
any sort of energy
to
drinks.
join you
No.
Great. I'd like to bring in
Just
Tom
water,
now,
protein shakes, and
to kind of go through the
fruit
summary
juice
of
maybe,
rights, because
coffee,
caffeine
free.
You know it all.
Hello, everyone.
BRB. One sec.
I'm also delighted to be here. I've worked with Middle Earth Enterprises for a very long time, and it's really heartening to see this transaction on the verge of closing, because it really, as you can tell from Frederica, the team is just so excited about it, and it's nice to see such a nice outcome for them. I'm here to give you a quick overview of the rights held by Middle Earth Enterprises in case you're not already aware of it. I should say, because we get a lot of questions about this, that Middle Earth Enterprises is not the Tolkien estate. The Tolkien estate controls the book publication rights for The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and the other Tolkien works. The rights that Middle Earth Enterprises has include, most relevant for this group, video games and board games, tabletop games, etc. We have film rights, including having licensed the New Line Cinema, Lord of the Rings, and Hobbit films, a wide array of merchandising rights, including for hotels, restaurants, other services, clothing, all manner of products and services, with limited exceptions. We jointly control with the Tolkien estate the right to develop theme parks based on the works. We also have the right to adapt The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit for stage productions. And while our current rights are limited to The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, we do have matching rights with respect to Tolkien's other works that relate to Middle Earth, including most notably the Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales. How did we get here? We're happy to walk you through sort of how the Saul Zaentz Company came to acquire these rights and what we've done with them over the last 50 years or so. Fred, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. It was really a lucky happenstance when Saul Zaentz worked with Michael Douglas to make One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And it was so successful, it was distributed by United Artists and won a number of Academy Awards. And United Artists was excited to work with Saul again and said, what's your next film? And he said, I don't know, but it's going to be based on a book, I'm sure. And because he was an avid reader, and they said, well, we have these books, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Have you heard of them? And he's like, yes. Do you want to buy the rights, the film rights? And he said, yes. And so the company acquired those film rights in 1976. UA had acquired them in 1969 from Professor Tolkien, and it was thrilling. The rights came with Ralph Bakshi, who was already working on the animated feature, and we released the animated feature in 1978. It didn't receive the kind of economic commercial success that everyone had hoped for, and so the second part of it was never released. But that's something else to consider. And then years go by, and things happen, and we release a film called The English Patient, which was distributed by Miramax, and those then all of a sudden there's more interest in these rights for The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and New Line enters the picture with Peter Jackson and Mark Ordesky. And so the tremendous success of those films really changed up the world for all of us once again. These books, as you know, have had an ebb and flow, but always the interest in them always increases. And when they were written, the author never thought he would, he didn't think that he was going to have the success he did, and his publisher didn't either. But I think we're second in the world to the Bible. And there are fans everywhere. We're in 75, the books, I should say, are in 75 languages. I want to distinguish between us and the estate who own the publishing to the books. But all the great adaptations of the books, whether it's the films or things not film related, like The Lord of the Rings Online, or the stage plays, or some of the games that'll be coming out in the next few months, are all from the literary works rather than from the film assets.
Yes, and then most recently we have the Amazon series, which is about to launch in just a couple weeks, which is based on both the New Line cinema films and the books, the underlying books. So it's a combination project of sorts.
Good. Yep, September 1st. And now we're with you guys.
Yes.
So
and we are so excited. And I'm only 35 minutes from you when I'm home, so I can come and visit you whenever I want, or whenever you want.
Yeah, yes you can.
Exactly. Okay, so again, the rationale for us here, I mean, again, this is totally in line with the Embracer's IP-driven transmedia strategy. I mean, it fits, again, straight bang in the middle of this, yeah. Middle-earth Enterprises will be part of Free Mode and will continue to be operated by the team in California. So that's fun. From my perspective, coming obviously from gaming, I think this is huge, 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 huge for us as a company. Of course, you know, we have our existing licensees doing existing projects, but I think if you look, you know, at the talents we have here at Embracer Group with the, you know, the other operating groups and just the most diverse development talent, I think when we start looking in the medium and the long term here, I think this is where this starts to get very interesting for us.
Yo, what's up, Sean?
And again, I think this is...
Embracer Group here is talking about how
years.
they've acquired Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Yeah.
So they own the game rights, the movie rights, the theme parks, the merchandising, everything but the books.
So I think
they do not own the books, but they can interpret anything from the books.
Fans for the next 50 years.
So, absolutely insane.
Hopefully as much of that can be...
So yeah, we were hoping to hear something about Avengers, but it's unlikely, and if we do, maybe it's at the end.
We also respect our other partners in the wider industry who, again, you know, have also got many talents and do this property justice as well. So, Andy, I'd like you to just go through some of the rationale there on Asmodee and maybe the last 2 points, because you know more about games than I do on that sense. So.
Thank you. I'm not so sure about that, but I mean, actually, yeah, the acquisition rationale. I'd kick off by saying, actually, I've got a bit of a confession, and I think it kind of goes to the import of what we're talking about here. And it's just that I struggle a little bit, actually, when describing Middle-earth as a property or a franchise. I know it is, but that feels a little like describing Shakespeare as someone who wrote plays. You know, these works, they're the original giants of fantasy, continuing to inspire generations. And opportunities like this are really, really rare. So I just wanted to get that off my chest, that, you know, I couldn't be more excited. And I remember a while ago when Lars asked me, what do I think about the idea of acquiring these rights? And the summary on the page here, you can see that across all areas of the Embracer Group, there are many, many great fit opportunities, from, you know, interactive games, as Lee's described, into tabletop games where, you know, one of our watchwords at Asmodee is we have a game for every gamer. And from board games to card games to role-playing games to dice games, every form of tabletop games. And you can see that the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit would just fit right in. It's absolutely perfect.
I agree.
And you know, we're already an established, long-standing partner with
Seems
board
good.
games and card games, and many, many more to come. But then the opportunities are there for further media projects, whether live action or animated. together with a very wide variety of consumer products, location-based entertainment, theatre productions, many more
Gamers,
great
if you are
fair
enjoying the
products and
content,
experiences that
or
we're
at
sure
least my
are gonna
commentary,
thrill and delight
definitely like the
Middle-earth
video,
fans of all
subscribe to the
ages
channel,
the world
ring the
over.
notification bell.
And when I look
Tonight
at this
is Marvel's
list, I
Avengers,
actually honestly
Thursday
believe-
night, 9
I don't think
p.m.
there is
Central
another
Time.
group that can cover all of that. I really don't. You know,
Then we'll do some more Marvel
Embracer
Spider-Man on Friday.
Is the perfect home. I really do believe
So we'll
that.
go from there.
And it's worth emphasizing that, you know, we know that Middle-earth Enterprises has some very strong and well-established partners already. And at the Embracer Group, we have a long history of strategic partnerships, and long may all of that continue. So, moreover, back to Lars asking me, I kind of felt a bit put on the spot, but my initial reaction was, you know what? Embracer is a business about fostering worlds of imagination and creativity in whatever we do. And fundamentally, that will fall down into two camps, I would say, of science fiction or fantasy. And Middle-earth, let's be honest, Middle-earth is the biggest, oldest, most enduring and influential fantasy world, bar none.
True.
So
True.
yes, of course, we should.
It is the
seize this
fantasy
opportunity.
title.
Because anybody who's interested in fantasy will touch The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit at some point on their journey.
Yeah,
I believe that's absolutely inevitable.
it is.
So talking about the acquisition rationale, you know, the world of
Lord of the
Middle-earth,
Rings is huge, man.
Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit is vast, both in its legacy and in the future potential for the Embracer Group. So I do think the strategic rationale is very clear, it's compelling, and it's very exciting. And, you know, our journey in Middle-earth is just beginning. So, yeah, absolutely fabulous, and I'm just delighted to be here and part of this.
Okay, well, thanks. Thanks for that, Andy. I think we are done now. So I'd like to say goodbye for now, and I'll be out to see the Berkeley folks when I get back, and we'll be talking more about the future and how much fun we're going to have together.
Interesting.
Look forward to it, Lee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Welcome.
Way too excited to come visit.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Lee. Thank you.
Thanks.
So let's.
This dude
head
looks
over
exhausted.
to some other parts of America. I hope they are awake. It's a bit early in the morning, I imagine.
Yeah, dude. It's 4 a.m. in Central Time.
Alan?
Yep, I'm awake.
5 a.m. in New
fantastic.
York, right?
Matt, are you there as well?
Tripwire.
I am here. I should have slept a little longer. Not that it wasn't exciting and interesting, obviously. It
And
has
Saber.
been, but I can always watch the reruns, you know?
Well, I'm glad that you're staying awake and could share the news with us from this morning. So why don't we jump into the presentation and
Sure. We'll make sure that we're as quick as we could possibly be, so those that want to sleep can sleep, and those that want to work can work, depending on where you are in the world. I just want to say a brief welcome to Tripwire. This is a deal which has been in the making since before I joined Embracer, and Tripwire played a huge role in Saber's success, and really, in many respects, set us up for our own acquisition through our partnerships.
Yeah, so Tripwire is well
through the
known for
relationships
Killing
that I
Floor,
have,
Man
had
Eater,
with the
Rising
founders.
Storm.
It's
Red
an
Orchestra, I've
absolutely
never heard of that
fantastic
one.
company. I like to think of it as one of the remaining great
But yeah, look at some of their
developers
staff.
in the world, and I'm just super
Incredible
excited
companies that
to
they've
have
come from or
to
worked
have
for
Alan
now.
and his team as part of our group at Saber and part of the larger Embracer group, and you have my word, and Lars, you know that I preach synergies more than anybody. We'll be attacking that Lord of the Rings license, finding opportunities there. There's probably gears already, turning in Alan's head about the things that he would like to do here. Between that and their own IP, such as Killing Floor and Man Eater and Red Orchestra and Rising Storm, which I think I finally got right, because normally I say Rising Orchestra and Red Storm. But so it's good that even at 5 in the morning I can finally get something right. I'm going to just turn it over to Alan and let him talk a little bit about Tripwire. I know he's got to be exhausted too. I don't know if you're in England or in Atlanta right now, but or you're probably jet lagged if you are. So I'll let you get to it, and we'll move on to the next one.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for those kind words. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm in Atlanta this morning. I'll be in some other place tomorrow. So let's crack through before we all collapse in a heap. This is a company that was formed the best part of 20 years ago out of a mod team. It's the mod team that won the first Make Something Unreal contest, bootstrapped in 2005, and went on to be one of the very first non-Valve IPs on Steam with Red Orchestra, the first Red Orchestra game. That team now, you'll see it listed here, probably about 120 years of experience in the video game industry between that team listed there. And for those concerned about diversity, I'll just point out that a full 50% of the C team is female. But looking at the IP and everything we've generated there, everything we've done has been with our own money. The profit we made just getting turned back into new titles.
I don't think this is worth staying up for. If there's more to cover, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Which was a breakout hit back in 2009.
It's exciting that they've purchased a lot of these studios and IPs. But I mean, if there was something about Avengers, they're gonna save it till the end, and it very well might be likely that there's nothing there. Yeah, so it's nearly 4 a.m. here, so I think that's it for me. If there's more to cover, we'll talk about it potentially tomorrow night on the Marvel's Avengers stream. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and we will see you guys later. Bye.